This is going to be titled Getting Good at Being Poor. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Coming Clean. I wanted to do a short little recording for you about a topic that came across my mind. Well, it comes across my mind every day, but it was brought to my attention when I ran into a friend the other day at the grocery store, and I decided, you know what, this is something that needs to be talked about because, yeah, it never goes away. We have to deal with it. It's part of life. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about money, and particularly not having a lot of it. This is going to be titled Getting Good at Being Poor. I think it's really important to get good at being poor. Like, really important for anyone to get good at being poor. And obviously, if you grow up with a lot of money, you don't really have the luxury of getting good at being poor, if you want to look at it like a luxury. But you can always force yourself into poverty. And it doesn't have to be like extreme, like you're living outside, you know, in a sleeping bag or something. But like teaching yourself to live with very little is so incredibly powerful. Now, I decided to step into quote unquote poverty, and obviously I understand there's a spectrum for this. Like I said, there are people that are way worse off, and the fact that we can even have the conversation about choosing this as a tool is obviously like first world problem, like, oh, choose poverty so you can strengthen your mind. But that's just the situation we're in. So it's great to have perspective, right? If you feel stressed about money, if you're living in a house of any kind, even if it's not your own, you're much better off than a lot of people. The fact that you're watching this video, you have a phone and you have internet or whatever, like, you're much better off than a lot of people. So we can find gratitude right away, like gratitude for what we do have. Now, from there, knowing that all of us want to feel good, and feeling good is a state of mind that we have to choose, but you can always have a better, I would say not always a better chance at being happy or being fulfilled or having a better quality of life with money, but it does often provide you with the opportunities to at least relax, that like knowing that your basic needs are met. So when I stepped into this realm of not having money, I didn't really know I was doing it. I didn't choose it consciously, but it came on, and it came on hard. So 4 years ago, when I quit my job bartending, I let go of that inflow of money. Like, although bartending was a little bit unstable, it was pretty regular that I had cash in my pocket, and I just spent it on silly things. So when I let it go, I realized very quickly that it's hard, one, to figure out how to make money just doing whatever, you know, like trying to get creative and actually like offer value to people so they'll give you money in return. That was really hard. But the first moment that I realized like that it sucked to not have money, and like in such a silly way, was one night when my boyfriend was gone. He was out of town. So I was in the apartment by myself. I had sold my car. I had basically just stopped everything, like exiled myself from the world. And I was just there by myself on, I think it was like a Sunday night or something. And I had no food in the house because I was trying to basically stop eating all the junk I was eating. So I stopped grocery shopping. Plus I didn't really have money to grocery shop. So I had literally nothing in the house. Nothing. There was not one thing in my apartment that I could eat. Nothing. Literally nothing. So I left the apartment, walked to a nearby coffee shop because I was starving and I knew that they sold cookies, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just get a cookie at the coffee shop. So I walked there, and on my way there, I took out my phone to check my bank account, and I looked at my bank account and I only had 82 cents in my bank account. So that was not enough for a cookie. So not only did I realize I didn't have enough money for a cookie, by the time I got to the coffee shop, because I still decided to walk that direction anyway, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought maybe somebody would help me get a cookie or they would just give me one or something. It was closed when I got there. So I just stood in the parking lot and sobbed. And yes, my crying was coming from a lot of different directions, things I was going through, but that was that moment that you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And so I didn't realize what it was like. Like, I didn't realize how much I was taking for granted. The fact that I could, one, get in a car and drive, but two, have food in the house to eat. Like, knowing that that is like a huge luxury, to have just like cupboards filled with food or a fridge filled with food. And then to have enough money in your bank account to purchase something if you are hungry. Like, that was a huge moment for me, because I couldn't have realized that until I actually was faced with the need and then not being able to meet the need. And I was just like so distraught. But from that point forward, I gained a new perspective that I never had before, and I also gained strength that I never had before. Knowing that I could go a whole night, as silly as that sounds, like I could go a whole night being hungry and not be able to eat, and I would live. Obviously, we can go a lot longer than that. But luckily, I didn't have to. Like, my boyfriend got back, and then he took us to the grocery store the next day, and we got food. So, fast forward 4 years later, we have gone in and out of having some money, having no money, having a little bit of money, having more money than usual, and it just fluctuates. So if you're in this lifestyle like me, where you're like an entrepreneur and you're finding ways to make money on your own, or even if you have a regular job, meaning like a stable paycheck, it still is often an issue to figure out, like, where's the money coming from? Are we gonna run out? Do we need to take out a credit card? Things like that. So my boyfriend and I, haven't taken out any credit cards. We haven't accumulated any debt other than his student loans and my taxes. But we have learned to just live within our means. So some ways you can do this that are really powerful and maybe are just like baby steps. One is to see how long you can go without buying clothing. Like, don't go shopping as entertainment. If you can get yourself to not go shopping as entertainment, then you'll realize, whoa, how much money you don't need to be spending on clothes, because guaranteed you have so much in your closet that you don't wear, or you don't wear often, or you have never worn. So stopping shopping and realizing that you don't need to shop for fun, that you don't need to shop like for any reason, is really powerful. Not only does it free up time, energy, and money, right? It also shows you how you're looking at things, like how you're looking to clothing or the dopamine you get from shopping as like a way to feed yourself, or a way to make yourself feel better when maybe there's something else you need to address. So that's one way to see how long you can go without shopping. Another way is to really notice how much food you keep in the house. And this has a double effect. Like, saving money on food, knowing that you don't need a ton of options. You just need to notice, okay, what do I eat per day? Let's just have that in the house. We don't need lots and lots of different like cereal types or snack options or all these things. Like, you don't need a bunch of variety. Is really powerful because it will save you money. But also, if you're trying to eat better, eat cleaner, eat less food, you have to know yourself and know that you're a human being. And if there's food in the house, you will be inclined to eat it. So know that about yourself, that you're human. And if there's something in the house, you're going to want to eat it. If it's not there, you can't eat it because it's not there. So really get refined on like, okay, what if I couldn't afford this? What if I could only afford one meal per day? What if I could only afford my meals and no snacks per day? Like, try to refine your thinking into what if I were poor, or really restrict yourself into that mindset of like, I can only spend this much per day, because some people do only spend that much per day. Some people can only spend $1 per day. at the extreme level, but figuring out like how little can you spend, how little can you do with is really, really powerful in the clothing realm, in the makeup realm, in the decorations for your house realm, and in the food realm. Because if you can get it down to your bare minimum, this is not to get yourself to feel like scarcity, right? Because that's really often what comes up first. Is like, I don't want to deprive myself, and then you start to panic, your brain starts to panic. It's more about doing this as a choice and stepping into it to be like, okay, I don't want to be ruled by money, and I don't want to be in this trap of having to work so many hours because I've created this lifestyle for myself that has to be maintained by working 50 hours a week. So when you learn to deal with less money and you learn to just be able to get by with so much less, you become more free. Like, you realize that maybe you can cut down on your hours at work. Maybe you can even take a more authentic job that doesn't require you to be there all the time, and you can spend more time with your family. Maybe when you stop spending money on clothes or makeup, you could spend money on that clean food that you really want to start eating. So when I saw this friend in the grocery store, she said to me, yeah, it looks like you're living the life, right? Like, or you're living the dream, something like that. And from my perspective, I've learned to look at it that way. Like, it's all in my mind, how I want to view my life. But I'm living in my boyfriend's parents' basement. I don't have a car. I don't have a regular paycheck. I'm constantly getting creative and learning how to make more money, and we're just getting by. But we have these huge goals that are in the future that cause us to be okay with the now because we know what's coming. So there's two ways to live your life, at least two ways that I can think of in this area. One is to get secure and safe and comfortable, and that is the way for some people, and that's okay. And that, you know, is often paired with buying a house, having kids, maybe getting married, or at least having a secure job that you know money is coming from. Because that makes your brain feel a lot better. Like, it makes it feel safer. Our brain is all about survival. Now, if you take the route that my boyfriend and I are taking, at first, it's very stressful. The brain feels deprived. The brain feels scarce. It feels afraid of survival, because you're basically saying, hey, I don't know where the next meal's coming from, or I don't know where the next dollar's coming from, but you learn to strengthen your mind so much because you have to. And right now, I have this ability to look at my bank account and watch it fluctuate so much, and know that there have been times where I've had so much more. But also knowing that, like, it's just a game. Like, as long as I have a place to sleep at night, and we have a way of getting around, and we have food to eat, I'm gonna be all right. And everything else is a plus. So now I get to play. Like, now I get to really play and do what I want and build what I want and create what I want, because I'm not trapped by the fear of not having money. So getting good at being poor is a skill I think we should be taught in school. I think we should be taught this, like, when we leave high school, you should try to spend a year either traveling or just living where you're at with the least amount of money that you possibly can, just to see, like, what you can get by with. Because if you find that base amount, that smallest amount that you can be, like, okay with and not feel completely panicked with, then that's where you get to coast along, and that's where you get to build from. So you're not, like, scrambling to be like, no, I need more stuff, I need more money, I need more security. because all that does is keep you trapped in like having to have things. But if you can get good at being poor, and if you can have your ego, like if you can get your ego to let go of the idea of the things that you think you need to be happy, and you can sleep on an air mattress for a year like my boyfriend and I did, or you can let go of having a car of your own, like, then you're free. I hope that makes sense to you. If you can get good at having so little, then you're free. And then getting a car one day, getting a house one day, being able to shop for clothes or whatever else you want, extra snacks or something, then all of that is extra. It's not a necessity. It's a struggle to get there, and it fluctuates. Like I said, there are some days where I feel the scarcity mindset coming on. But I've gotten so good at knowing and trusting that it's a flow that comes back and forth, and that I know I can go a day without food if I need to. Now, again, I'm not saying I do. I haven't gone a day without food in a long time, but I also know enough about physiology that it would actually be good for me, like to have a day-long fast. It would be great. So I'm not afraid of it. But luckily I have enough support around me. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But I know I can. I know I could sleep on an air mattress or floor if I had to. I know I can go without a car of my own. Even though for the first 2 years I was like, I don't have a car of my own. Like, this sucks. I have to have my boyfriend take me everywhere. It doesn't really suck that bad. Like, I'm grateful that I even have a vehicle to get into and ride around. So the gifts that come from getting good at being poor are, one, gratitude for what you do have. But then two is just that freedom of being like, oh, I don't need that much. I want a lot. There's a huge difference between wanting and needing. And if you don't need to get fancy, this is actually the title that my boyfriend and I were talking about yesterday on our walk when we were discussing this idea, is don't get antsy and don't get fancy. If you know who Gary V is, Gary Vaynerchuk, he always talks about don't get fancy, don't get fancy. And he is a millionaire, but he's still grinding, he's still working, he's still focused, because there's goals that he has that are bigger than where he's reached right now. So he's not getting fancy. He's not like getting these elaborate vehicles or buying a private jet or doing things he could do. He's just staying humble and working. And so sometimes my boyfriend and I, like, we're here at his parents' house and we get antsy. So the first thing is getting antsy. Like, you might feel like, well, we gotta go, right? Our time here is up. We've been staying with your parents for too long. So we could go and get our own apartment if we really wanted to. We could probably even try to figure out how to get our own house. But if we got antsy just because we thought our time was up here, then we'd end up putting ourselves in a position that would give us less freedom, because we'd be stuck paying rent, stuck paying a mortgage, whatever it is. We also get antsy thinking we want to move to a different state, which is a beautiful idea, and eventually we probably will. But if we get antsy and we say we gotta move, we gotta get out of here, this place is boring, or we've been here our whole life, or we hate the winter, then if we move to a different state, we're putting ourselves in a position where we're gonna have to scramble, like where we have to pay rent again. We don't know anybody, we're not making money there. So if you get antsy, you're rushing toward something that maybe you're not financially ready for. And then the fancy part is like, do you really need to have 2 cars? Do you really need to, okay, if you do you really need to have a Mercedes, or could you just get a Honda? Do you need to buy a new sweatshirt? Do you need to buy a new swimsuit? Or do you have one in your closet you could already wear? Basically just really realizing, like, are you getting antsy? Or are you trying to get fancy? Don't get antsy, don't get fancy. Stay patient, stay the course, and know that if you can get good at being poor, you will be free. That's it. So I just wanted to talk about the topic, get that out there, remind myself, don't get antsy, don't get fancy. It's okay to have very little, because having very little is actually a lot more than a lot of people. And if I can keep that perspective, and if you can, you're going to be able to really invest in yourself, invest in your future, and then build upon that instead of constantly scrambling because you think you need all these things that you don't really need. So I hope you can take a little golden nugget from that, maybe a few, take that on with you today. Try to find gratitude for what you have, and also notice where you're maybe seeking things or reaching for things or gathering things that you don't really need. So that's all. Hope you enjoyed. By the way, this is episode number 30 of my podcast, Coming Clean, and I am so excited to step into this next season of episodes. So I'm starting, that was 30 episodes. Now I'm going to start into episode 31, which I'm recording tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah, I'm recording tomorrow with my friend Morgan, and I'm super excited to have her on the podcast. You will have a video form of this on YouTube as well. I'm going to try to do video forms of all my podcasts going forward, so check it out. And if you do watch on YouTube, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more videos like this, and share this or any of my other videos with anyone you think could benefit from this content. If there's something specific that you would like to hear about or see or watch a part of my life or know about my life, or if there's someone that you think should be on the podcast, whether they're in the Chicagoland area or elsewhere, I can record a phone conversation with them. Someone that has come clean of something, someone that is coming clean of who they used to be, so they can become who they're truly meant to be, their authentic self. That's what this podcast is about. It's about coming clean of the things we think we need, so that we can really step into our authentic truth and live as we feel truly in our heart and in our soul that we want to, instead of how we should. So I will talk to you all next time. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.